Hi, it's Tricia Johnston, residential realtor with Ladder & Blum with your real estate tip of the week. If you're a buyer, looking in a seller's market can be frustrating and discouraging. Here are 5 things you can do to help you find your new home and actually get it. First, be prepared. Get pre-approved. That could be the determining factor when sellers are trying to decide which offer to accept. Second, only look at houses that are within your budget. Third, be prepared to act quickly. If you take too long to go look at a new listing or submit an offer, there's a good chance that it'll no longer be available. Fourth, when you do submit an offer, make it a good one. Many sellers are receiving multiple offers. Your realtor can advise you on some strategies that will make your offer more attractive to the sellers and more likely to be accepted. And fifth, don't get discouraged. Be patient. If the right house for you isn't listed for sale right now, there's more houses coming on the market all the time. Hang in there and you'll find the right home for you. I promise it'll be worth the wait. I'm Tricia Johnston, residential realtor with Ladder & Blum, wishing you and your family a wonderful holiday season.
Do you need cash? Do you want to consolidate debt? Premier Credit can help. They provide quick and confidential loans for any reason. Their service is same day and most loans are approved within minutes. You can apply in person or by the phone. Their experienced and knowledgeable loan professionals will leave you feeling confident that your loan is being properly handled in a secure manner. Premier Credit can be reached at 225-667-8100, or you can email wesayyes@premiercredit.com, or stop by and spin the wheel at 139 Del Norte Avenue in Denham Springs. They're open Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and are a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. If you grew up in the Livingston Parish area, there's a good chance you're familiar with my guest today, along with his wife, Jocelyn. Their bar and grill has become synonymous with great food and great times over the past 10 years, but not without some struggles. Today, we're going to talk about Big Mike and Jocelyn O'Neill. Got it right. There's a long story there. Jocelyn O'Neill, not only about the struggles of the past 4 years in particular brought, but how these community leaders continue to remain resilient, and how all of us as viewers can do our part to help keep Big Mike's Bar and Grill right where it needs to be, as an example of the best Livingston Parish has to offer. So with that, welcome Big Mike and Jocelyn O'Neill to Local Leaders, the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
I'm excited y'all are here. Y'all really needed no introduction. You are a staple. Your bar and grill is a staple here. I frequent it often, as do a lot of other people, but I did use a term in that little introduction that's important, and that was the word resilient, which is the first thing I think of when I think of you two folks. In the last 4 years, you have certainly been tested. The love for the bar business, I would imagine, has been tested just a little bit. But you never skipped a beat, man. You just kept on fighting, kept on coming back. And, it gave other people strength watching your journey, especially through the flood of 2016. So we'll get into all that. But first, for the maybe 3 people that aren't familiar with you yet, I want to cover some of your individual history. And Jocelyn, you play a part in that as well because of your restaurant experience that you bring to the table over your entire, life, from what I understand. So I want to get into that too. But first, we'll ask Big Mike, tell people where you grew up, where you were born, all those sorts of things. Where did you go to high school? a little history on you.
All right, a little history for me. I was born in Baton Rouge in 1968. I know I look a lot younger, but
you do.
I am.
You do.
My dad was in the Navy, and he met my mom out in California. So she was a West Coast girl. They got married, fell in love, had me. So I was born in Baton Rouge, but it didn't last. I grew up out west. I grew up in California, Arizona, New Mexico. And I bounced around. My mom remarried a great man, my stepfather. But in 1984, I decided I wanted to come live with my dad. And I moved here in June of 1984, graduated from Denham Springs High School, same high school he went to. A lot of roots here. My grandfather was mayor at one time. From what I understand, he was the chief of police. He was the judge. I know he ran for tax assessor. He built Shelley home sites. He owned a gas station, ice company, put the first...
he had some roots.
Yes, he was way before his times. I know the antique in the antique village. He put the first elevator ever in Denham Springs.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, a lot of neat history there. And went to LSU and just decided college wasn't for me. And I got out and with the sitting around drinking a beer like everybody does. And a friend of mine had a little building on Florida Boulevard. It was a liquor store at the time. And before I know it, we opened up September of 1989. We were in the bar business. I bought them out by Christmas, and off I went. And I've been in multiple locations, kind of followed. A lot of people don't know, but Denham Springs was dry. And the story I hear, the women voted the town dry when the men were at war, is from what I understand. But between...
Can't leave them alone for a second.
No, not at all. But from, I don't know if people remember, but from the bridge on Florida till Flannery, there were 7 bars when I opened in 1989. And it was all full of Livingston Parish people because there was no place to drink.
Right.
And so when Ed Wright got the liquor laws changed, I followed into Denham Springs and was here for a while. And then poker machines got taken out. I went to Baton Rouge. And after 20 years of the bar business, I had met and fallen in love with her. And just the 3 o'clock in the morning with kids and a wife and all that was just getting too much. And I told, she was the general manager of Cocodries, which is our location now. Yeah. And that was a guy that she worked for, but she was the GM there, and he kept telling me to buy it, and I kept telling him no. She kept telling me not to do it. And eventually, after a late night over there, breaking up a fight and getting knocked down and whatever, I said, I can't do this anymore. And I was stopped by, bought the restaurant, came home, told her we owned a restaurant, and here we are 10 years later.
There you go.
Hell of a ride.
Hell of a ride. That's putting it mildly. But we're gonna backtrack a little bit because there's a lot. That's the quick story. But we're gonna kind of get into things a little bit on that. Now, how old were you when you opened that first bar in Baton Rouge?
I was 21.
21.
I just turned 21 in
Big
April.
Mike. You knew it, man. You knew it. Look, when I was 21, I had no business owning my own anything. Well,
it was kind of easy because I just thought, well, what do we do every weekend? All my friends drink. I'm like, well, okay, maybe I could take advantage of it. And originally,
at least get wholesale pricing.
Right, exactly. And originally was going to just open and then have everybody stop by. And that's how I initiated it. We had to, back then, had to get the phone book and the yearbook. Yeah. And sat down and called everybody and said, on your way to Texas Club, on your way to Baton Rouge, stop by, have a couple drinks with us. And we figured we'd close down and we'd all go out with our friends. And it ended up just
took off, man.
Yeah,
here you are.
And people didn't want to leave. And then, like I say, I still can't believe it's been 31 years. This past September was 31 years, yeah.
Unbelievable. And, the interesting thing about that for me is it's probably the best time to start your own business is when you're 21. Why? Because you have no responsibility, man. Right. It's just like, what's the worst that can happen? I'll run out of money and you don't have, I would assume you weren't married at the time. Most people at that age are not. And so you don't have a wife there that's relying on you. Most people don't have kids. So they don't have to worry about that. So it's a situation where if you fail, you're really no worse for the wear.
You're right.
The only bad thing is, if you're like me at 21, I didn't have a dime, man. I was struggling. And then when I got that dime, that was a beer at the Texas Club or whatever. Stephanie Berthelot and the crew at SR Enterprise can handle it all, from sheetrock to texture to paint. Give Stephanie a call at 504-432-9284. SR Enterprise, where they spread the paint and you spread the word. It just boggles my mind. I love to talk to people that at that age just took a risk. And it's actually a smarter move than what people give you credit for. Now, you owned that bar for a while. Was it successful? Did you see success with it?
Absolutely. I mean, just right off the bat, my age group now, I can't say I checked IDs real well. Casey can vouch for that. So, there was a lot of younger people, but I mean, everybody, I had adults. This is true, in the afternoons, I had an older crowd in there of Philip Jackson, Leon Jackson, Matt Savick, the who's who of Denham Springs, former mayors, Floyd Harris. I mean, so I had the 80-year-olds and the 16-year-olds, and everybody from Denham came. They knew either me or my dad or my grandfather. And that, we still get that at the restaurant today. I'll get called to a table and there'll be a 80-something-year-old man that knew my grandfather. And then there'll be, a 60-something-year-old guy that knew my dad. And so, it just took off unbelievably so fast. Like I said, I was able to buy my two partners out before Christmas.
Wow.
And it just we were mind boggled how fast it took off. And then I ended up getting the people out the front, expanding there, and then getting another build. Like I said, I've been blessed. I've had some bad years, but to answer your question, it just took off like a rocket.
And during that time, you met this lady, I would imagine. And so how did that happen? Because one thing I've learned from all leaders, and they'll tell you this, behind every successful man, there's a strong woman, right? I mean, let's be honest.
It was a cliche, but it's real.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, please, But let me tell you, when the chips are down, a lot of times it's the women that say, "Hey, get your ass up," excuse the term, and let's get to work and fix this thing. And so you would be that strong woman, would you not?
Well, a fun fact about Mike and I is I'm actually 10 years younger than him. So when I met him...
Well, he's only 21, so that...
Well, when I met him, I was only 24. So I worked in a restaurant. I was a bartender there, which was actually right around the corner from his location in Baton Rouge. That was off of Airline and Alco. So the restaurant was Capital City Grill, and of course I worked the night. I worked the night shifts. Well, a friend of mine, coworker, had went there and was like, "Man, you have to come over here and see this bar. It's just like a local watering hole, basically a dive bar per se." And I was like, okay, after getting off work, everybody wants to go have a cocktail and wind down. So we went over there one night. He introduced me to Mike. We sat and talked, and that was basically it.
That's it.
That was it.
Went from there.
Went from there.
You put the
that's
moves
right.
on her and everything.
It was a perfect match, I guess you could say.
It's funny. You sit back and you think about life and just little things that bring it full circle, and relationships are certainly no
Correct.
different.
If you would have asked me, that night, if I was going to meet my future husband of 15 years, the father of my children, my partner in a business, I would have lost everything on that bet. But here we are today. So
yeah. It's interesting. Look, don't discount meeting your future wife in a bar, because I was in AAA Bar and Grill and saw my wife dancing, and I told a buddy of mine she's kind of hot.
Yeah,
and she's gonna kill me for telling the story, but he said, "Well, go dance with her." And I, being the suave guy I was, I went over there and just kind of grabbed her and freaked her out. But who knew? 22 years later, we're still together. We're married. We love each other, and so
I can't tell you how many times people come up to me and said, "I met my first wife in your bar. I met my second wife in your bar."
and I'm looking for my third.
Yep.
I hear you.
That's a true story.
That's awesome. So the good thing about your relationship is you have a lot of experience in the restaurant industry. You already mentioned Capital City Grill.
Correct.
But tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I go back when I was about 16 years old. I worked at a pizza place in St. Francisville, which is still there now, by the way. I worked the cash register, the counter girl, just to-goes. And we did have inside dining and stuff like that. But that's where I really got my feet wet. Minimum wage job, not a lot of tips. But that's when I really said, hey, this is what I like to do, interaction, being around the food, cooking from time to time. And of course, you leave, and I went off to school. That didn't really pan out for me. Tried different jobs here and there, but something always led me back to the service industry. It's just something that felt right to me. It something I felt that I was really, really good at. And I'll tell a story my mom always tells people, and she says that, of course, she was on my case. I was in my early 20s, and she was like, well, you need to settle down and try to find a real job and get a career. And she says, I looked at her and I was like, did you ever think that I really enjoy what I'm doing now? And she just stopped in her tracks and never questioned me about it again. And here I am, almost 11 years owning my own business. So
that's amazing.
She was always like pushing me to go get that real job. But I'm a service industry lifer. Like, there's nothing else I can see myself doing, to be honest.
And I find that with people, no matter what you're doing, love it. Number one, there's
Correct.
A lot of people out there. I know people personally, they make a lot of money doing what they're doing. Hate their job. Don't want to wake up and go to work. And then there's people that maybe they don't make a ton of money, but they, a livable income, but they love what they do.
They wake up and they're happy, so
they're happy. I've been in both in my life, and I would much rather be in something that I love. But when it's a good fit, you kind of know. And like you said, it's a feeling. It's just, you'll be led back to that almost.
Correct. And I mean, even before owning my own business, when I was serving or a bartender, I always made good money, because I could put myself out there because I enjoyed what I was doing.
Right.
So, 16 years old, I just had my 43rd birthday. Long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. You're an expert. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Maybe.
Yeah. So you own this bar in Baton Rouge, and at some point, it's kicking off, it's popping. At some point, do you sell it?
No, we actually owned it when we opened up Big Mike's Sports Farm Grill.
Okay.
Still had it in Baton Rouge at the Alco location.
Yeah.
And but I had a manager running it.
Gotcha.
Because, like I said, I just couldn't do the long nights anymore and all that. I needed something different after 20 years of, just the bar business.
Well,
Sure.
not to mention we had a new baby in Denham Springs that needed all the nurturing we could possibly give it. So he went from all the hours over there to all the hours in Livingston Parish, basically, as well. So,
but to answer your question, we still own the building, but I eventually closed it after I realized I couldn't run two places, couldn't be there. I had a manager, steal some money. Long story, but we own the building and we're renting it out now. It's still a bar.
Okay.
It's still in Baton Rouge. It's
still existing today.
Still there. There's still all the stuff we bought, pool tables and everything, but just somebody else they rent it from us. It's called Kenny's Q Club. And he's been there probably close to 2 years now.
Okay. Excellent.
So it just... Like I say I've been 31 years straight because we have been selling beer, and the Big Mike's name I knew would do well around here, and I knew her food. I told her, you cook, my name will get them in, your food will get them back.
Indeed.
And that's exactly what's happened.
Indeed. And so you ended up in Livingston Parish. You opened Big Mike's Bar and Grill back in 2010?
March of 2010.
Excellent. Correct. And... BJ Pawn and Gun has been servicing the Livingston Parish community since 1990. If you need it, there's a good chance BJ Pawn has it. So go see them in Denham Springs. They're a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. When you open a business, you kind of hope to get a good name and a good reputation, but make no mistake about it, you've earned it. You are someone who has given more than he's taken. And I find that a common quality in leaders. You know, we'll get into this a little bit, but for a long time, I was someone that was probably taking more than I was giving. And I don't mean taking like I was taking, but, you know, I was young and I wasn't focused as much on what am I doing to help other people as I was trying to build a business. And so I think that a lot of that comes with maturity, but that's something that you've kind of done in spades. Now, Big Mike's Bar and Grill was rocking and rolling, and we'll kind of fast forward just a little bit here to 2016. So we're not telling anyone in Denham Springs specifically anything new when we mention the cuss word flood to anybody. It affected all of us. 90% of the businesses and homes were destroyed in Denham Springs. Much like you, I had a home with 6 feet and a business with 6 feet all at the same time. And we just, you know, we're all standing there with our mouths open. It never saw it coming. And that, you know, I try to explain to people that situation. And when I try to explain it, I say, you know, with a hurricane, you can kind of prepare. People aren't still at work when it's happening. Right. You know, they've gone home at that point. You can board up stuff. You can put stuff up high when you don't see it coming. Totally different. That was the situation. And so you had a mess, man. You had your house and your business. You had children and all these things and a million things to worry about. Was your business really your first? I've got to get the business going. And I found a lot of people looked at the business as the income. So they had to fix that before they could fix their personal home, because the business was the income to fix the personal home, so to speak. Were you in that situation as well?
Yeah, we were. We were basically still cleaning it. We didn't have a direction. We didn't have, you know, still trying to do, where does the money come from? You know, but that was definitely trying to get that up and running. We knew we had to start making money. But at the same time, we just, with insurances and just so many unknowns, we kind of just went through the motions, trying to find a place to rest our head. Where are our kids going to be? And we kind of got a little boost, which I guess you'll get into later with the business part of it. But just like you said, the real part was shock. I went to work that morning.
Me too.
You know, it was raining. She stayed at home with the kids. She called, said something's wrong. I had employees call and said they couldn't get back to work. She said something was wrong because water was in our backyard where it never had been before. And already, and so you're right. We were just in a daze. I mean, and we had to, you know, we went from house to house. We ended up having to be saved on a airboat. I think it was a Navy airboat that we got out. I say saved. A Coast Guard. I say saved. We got out, and we finally, after 3 days of no showers, no anything, finally got to Jubin, and then got up to her mom's house, and just took a couple of days to just, besides shower and clean and brush our teeth, just to regroup and look at each other like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And that's when we rode down to the restaurant and saw it, and it just really didn't know where to start. I mean, I'm just telling you, walked around in a daze, not you know, who do we call? What insurance company do we call? What do we do? What do we do to our employees? What do we do to our kids? I mean, it was just.
I call it the flood fog.
It's a great term for it.
Because that's exactly what it was with me. It's just like, you know, you're just kind of numb, and it's like waking up from a bad dream. I mean, you know, what was it? Wednesday, we were living the dream. The restaurant was up and running. Our girls were about to get their driver's license. My youngest was about to start, you know, at First Baptist Church, their pre-K program. And then Friday morning, we have water coming in our house. You know, it started raining Thursday. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, you know, one day you're living the dream, and then the next day, everything is totally wiped away. Just everything. Everything.
You know, it's interesting. Y'all say that, and I was in a similar position. I'll never forget leaving work that morning, driving, you know, Farrell Calhoun is over here. So there's a back neighborhood. And, I was going somewhere and I noticed the water was kind of high in that back neighborhood. It was almost hitting the door of my truck. And I'm like, that's strange. I thought a drainage issue. My wife had called. You know, the women always know before we do, Big Mike.
Yeah,
So,
I told him, get home now,
Yes,
or
that's-
else you're not going to get back to us.
that's kind of the term. My wife's like, we're going to flood. And, you know, us as guys, I'm like, oh, we ain't going to, you know, what are you talking about? If anything, it'll just be high in the front yard
That
or
was
whatever.
me.
Once he, let me tell you real fast, once he got home, he was sitting on the couch folding laundry, and I'm at our back door like this, like the water just
They
right
always know.
here.
I said, don't worry.
I'm gonna fold this load of towels, and I'm like, no, it's here. Like,
And I was
we have to
Yes.
do something.
I was mad at my employees for not coming in. I'm like, if you lived on a street that flooded, you should have made preparations.
Yeah.
Little did we know.
I live in a subdivision, our streets flood. I left early this morning, anticipate, you know, and then I didn't know that 10 hours later,
Who knew,
that it
man?
was going to be the
Yeah.
greatest devastation. Real fast, that subdivision behind you, Shelley Home Sites.
Yeah.
That's my grandfather,
Okay.
Shelley O'Neill. He developed
Yes.
that.
The mayor. The mayor. Awesome.
Wanda was named after my grandmother. Manita's named after her best friend. But anyway,
That's interesting. Okay. So, yeah. And so it shocked us all. I remember you mentioned the backyard water, and I remember distinctly going home, and my wife was on the way home from work at this time. They had already sent the kids home from school. They kind of foresaw something bad, not that bad.
Right.
But I remember going in my backyard, and I was taking pictures and texting them to my best friend, and I was telling him, I've never seen the water come up to my deck before in my backyard. So it came from the back first, which
Yeah,
was
us
strange.
too. Us
Yeah. So, and then it was so fast. You know,
Very
it seemed
fast.
like an hour from the time I noticed that water to the time I hear my wife screaming from the bathroom, there's water in the freaking, but it wasn't freaking house.
Yeah.
and you know, that was it. So, obviously processing that was insane. Like you say, it was a fog. You go and you look, and you can only relate to this if you went through it. There's mud. There's Amy River mud all over your house. The water is dropped, and it's just ruined. You know, there's no feeling like it. And I tell people, if you didn't see it, you'll never
I
get
know.
it.
and the smell.
The smell.
I tell people that's one thing I remember the most.
Yeah.
When
The
bar
smell of wet mud.
When bar rescue came, and then my brother and sister-in-law, they live in Illinois, but you know, we rode them around town once they came down, and we were like, oh yeah, all this was underwater. You couldn't even get down here. Like, all of this was boats, and fire trucks were underwater, and this and that, and like, they could not grasp it because they didn't
No.
see it. It's, you know, just to think our whole entire house was, we had a car that was totally submerged, couldn't even see it in a photo, you know, and it was just, I mean, it's really like unbelievable if you think about it. We had 5 feet of water just covering our neighborhood.
It was a lake.
Yeah.
And you know, we were all in it, you know, obviously. And the hardest thing for me at that time was my natural instinct to want to help people, and everything in my life was destroyed. So I remember in bar rescue, the gentleman turned to you and he said, you know, there's a time when you're needed to help and a time when you need to take help. And this is time when you need to take it. Our natural instinct, we want to help. We want to get out there and give me a sledgehammer. Let me help you gut. Tiffany Sicard with HomeKey Mortgage combines the experience and knowledge you need to make your mortgage loan a smooth, stress-free process. Reach out to Tiffany for more information on the vast mortgage programs available in the Livingston Parish area. Tiffany Sicard of HomeKey Mortgage, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. And so that brings me to this point, and that's the Livingston Parish community. I tell people all the time, there's a lot of awful that came out of that flood. You know, a lot of crap we went through, but there were two things, and I'll ask if y'all agree with this, that I think really were the difference. One, I think it brought out the best in people. I saw things I never would have thought I saw from people. Normal people, man, not cops, not firemen. I'm talking a dude that works at a plant that is riding his boat down the road, pulling people out of the daggum water.
Some of our friends were included in that. They just stopped what they were doing, and it didn't matter if their house was going underwater or not. They were out there trying to help people get to higher ground or to safe places or whatever.
Absolutely.
I agree with you on that one for sure.
It brought out, it was just beautiful. And I think we are unique in that. This parish is unique in that. I don't know that every community could have done that like Livingston Parish did.
I agree with that.
We were with each other. What I mean?
Not to interrupt you, but I've done a lot of radio and stuff, and I say that all the time. I don't know if there's communities out there that could come together the way I did. Like I say, I grew up out west. You had a lot of distance. You didn't know who your neighbors were. A lot of living with the Joneses, just different attitude. Down here in the South, everybody likes everybody. And even if they don't like everybody, they're respectful. But I remember in one radio interview I did from up north, I said, it didn't matter if you were rich, poor, a mansion, a trailer, black, white. It didn't matter. The water flooded everybody. And it was amazing how that, the poor guy looked at the rich guy and said, I know what you're going through, and vice versa. And I think that's what brought everybody together. And I know in communities I've lived in and out west and stuff like that, there just wasn't that camaraderie and that instant help. Like she said, I mean, we have friends that their house, they had water coming in their house. They grabbed every gas can they could, jumped in their truck and went and launched their boat and did that for 3 days. And said, I'll worry about my house later. And so I agree with you 100% there that that's what makes this community special and unique is the way we came together. And, we needed it at the time. If you remember, we had a lot of racial things going on. And I told some other people, this is God flushing the toilet, saying, come on, y'all, I'm going to flush this out and we all need to come back together. And I really think it made a huge, huge difference. So I agree with you 100% that this community was, it might be why it happened here. And because, the man upstairs might know that he had the people in place that could sustain something like this and find the good out of it and become better people because of it.
I agree 100%. And I will tell you this, it changed me in ways that I could spend my whole life trying to repay this parish and I couldn't. And I mean, as a person, my outlook on people, who I was, and I wasn't a bad guy by any means, but it had so many positive things in who I was. It was unbelievable. And the things I saw just, and you as well. Cheers is destroyed. You're in that fog. Like you say, you walk in and you're just like, you don't even know where to start. I mean, do I pick up a shovel, a broom? That ain't going to do any good. What do I do? You had an employee reached out to Bar Rescue, and an amazing story in and of itself. What are the chances of that actually occurring? Even somebody writing to them, and what are the percentages of that?
Yeah, I think that was also just a blessing, another blessing from God too, because it's weird how it happened. So we flooded. She reached out to him on a post on Facebook. He's probably got people doing his Facebook things, and it just so happened to reach him. And not only did it reach him and they responded to us, he was going to be revisiting a bar in Chalmette and then redoing another one in New Orleans. And hey, by the way, had a week off in between the two to come and do us. So what are the chances of that happening?
Slim enough.
He's already going to be in Louisiana.
Yeah.
At this time.
That's too coincidental to be coincidental.
Correct.
And it was actually a Louisiana guy that helped us. He went to Spike TV and saw her post on their website. And it was a guy, he owns a bar down on Bourbon Street that John Taffer had saved.
Yeah. And
John Taffer told me, he called me at my house and said, you need to go to Spike TV's website and read this story about this bar about an hour west of me. I think you'd be interested in it. And then Taffer told me after he read it, he got up and went in and told his wife that I'm going to Louisiana and I'm saving these people.
I love it.
So, and I've talked to him on the phone a couple of times, haven't been to New Orleans to go visit him, What's the name of the bar? Spirits on Bourbon. One of the
Shout out to Spirit.
One of the most successful financial bars John Taffer has ever saved. I mean, this guy went from, like almost tripled what he was doing before.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I talked to him on the phone once and he said, man, I just read your story and I was moved and I knew John and the crew was coming to Louisiana. And he said, I just felt like calling him. He said, I don't know why I did it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, another unique story of a Louisiana restaurant bar owner. Read a story about another restaurant bar owner and made it happen.
Really,
and then none of it would have happened without Emily writing the story.
Yeah, it wouldn't have. And that's what we talk about when we talk about going full circle. I mean, it's just like this action led to this action, which totally changed, a situation in a positive way.
Changed everything.
And we needed it. We needed some positivity. But I'm going to tell you what, we needed you there. We needed you open because, like I said, to those people that hadn't, they just thought it was impossible. I'm screwed. I give up. It was you. It was that being rebuilt that showed everybody it's possible, and you can really turn it into a positive thing. So he comes down here, and obviously they filmed Bar Rescue, very popular show. Love that show. Loved it before you were on it, and loved it even more after you were on it. That guy knows what he's doing.
He does.
He absolutely does.
Very, very smart man.
Yeah. And he came down here, and I think he was so touched and moved and shocked at what this community was going through. Just like we just talked about, you almost had to be here to see it. And I think when he got here, he was like, oh my gosh, this is way worse than I thought.
Absolutely. Now, let me tell you a real fast story about that. The second day we filmed, we were waiting on John Taffer, and the director came up to me and said he was so moved he could not believe that we were still. He had heard, just like everybody else out west, the water came up, the water went down, everything, and they went on to the next story.
Yeah.
And so when he landed, feet on the ground, even from New Orleans, came here, saw all the devastation, saw everything still piled up in people's yard. I don't remember what it was, but he called NBC, ABC, or whatever, and asked. And they gave him 6 minutes, and that's why he was late filming that day. He went live on one of those news stations in the morning for 6 minutes, telling the rest of the country, y'all need to get down here to Louisiana and help these people. Yeah. Because like I said, I have family out west. So 5 days after the fact, my uncle in California called me, hey, did that water, did it mess y'all up?
We heard it rained. Are y'all okay?
It's crazy.
And we get a text, from a cousin. Did y'all get affected by that flooding they're talking about on the news I saw last week? And it's like,
pretty much.
Yeah.
You could say that, and you just had to be here. But Bar Rescue came down, and they really put a light on it. Thank goodness, for everybody. It benefited our entire parish just being in that limelight, so people could see what we're going through. But he fixed you up. He really revamped that bar. One of the most touching parts of that. We were talking about this off camera. I actually watched it last night just to kind of sharpen up, and they moved me to tears, like it always does. That episode. The part that gets me the most is when you walk in and you see the bar. You see the new just bar area, and the first thing out of your mouth is, I never thought I'd have something this classy. That's some shit.
And that was real emotion.
Yeah.
Because like she said, I always had dives.
Yeah.
I always had the floor where it needed to be swept, and it was a dive bar. So it was really, really moving for me to just the woodwork and I don't know, just
it's beautiful, man.
It was, and it still is today, but it was a really, really sincere moment for me.
Yeah. And then somebody in the background of that says, you deserve it. And you do, my friend. That was,
we appreciate that.
That was, something that I can't even put into words how moving it was to me, because like you said, it was genuine emotion, and you can see that it comes out on camera. It was absolutely beautiful to boot. I mean, they did a fantastic job in an unbelievably limited period of time.
Right.
So boom, we get that out of the way. Big Mike's off and running again, baby. Yep. We're serving all kinds of things. You revamped your menu, and we're just rocking and rolling. You're selling sandwiches and beer and everything else, by the case, and heck, I'm over there selling paint like crazy, and then boom again, huh? March comes. And we have a COVID issue, and they end up just telling everybody, hey, you got to shut down. Now, initially, when I heard this, I was like, hey, if we got to close for a week and, it cures humanity, I got no problem with that, right? But a week turned into 2 weeks, turned into a month. And look, you got employees, right? You got people you got to take care of, even other than yourselves. And a business owner is in a special position because it's never only about you. You're the type of person, both of you, I would imagine that your employees are back there, and that's the first thing you think of.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably the last thing you think of. It's the people that rely on you.
And their kids, and
yeah.
So it's absolutely something you think about and worry about.
Absolutely, and so it's a unique experience for your industry. The two industries, when I say that are hurt the most and suffer the most from this, are the travel industry and the bar industry. William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance in Denham Springs can service all of your insurance needs. Offering auto, life, health, and commercial insurance, William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance is a proud supporter of Local Leaders, the podcast. And restaurant industry will be rolling into that as well, because it's exceptionally tough, the restrictions on you guys. First you went curbside, and okay. And I'm out there and I'm pushing and I'm saying, man, look, just go to Big Mike's and get your sandwiches curbside. If everybody still continues to go and you just get it to go, it'll be okay. Well, then they started with these other restrictions. Now, one thing that y'all do and you rely heavily on is your I guess you'd say your group meetings that you have. People rent your meeting rooms, and I'm in a B&I. We meet there, and 30 or 40 of us a week up in there, sometimes 60 if I'm speaking, maybe. So you get all those people in there, Big Mike, and that's on a Tuesday afternoon in my case, and that's pretty good. Little pop there for a Tuesday afternoon, Well, the problem issue, and I'm going to call it an issue, is, the organizations are trying to limit what people can do. And look, I don't want to get into the politics of why or what it helps or doesn't help. I have my own opinions on that, and that's probably best I keep it to myself.
Me too.
But the fact of the matter is, it hurts a lot. And I don't have to be a genius, nor am I to figure that out. In all restaurant industries, we love all our restaurants. It's funny. Somebody I was with, we were at another restaurant. I don't remember which one it was, one in Denham, and you were there. And they're like, what's Big Mike doing here? People think that you only eat at your restaurant ever, but you support, your industry too.
Absolutely.
And the entire industry is hurting right now. And I cannot stress to people the importance of what you guys do. You employ people. You keep the economy rolling. You give me somewhere to bring my customers when I want to talk business. You know what I mean? And those are things that we cannot allow to suffer during this time. I can't, I'm going to harp on this for a second, but I encourage everyone that's listening to this. There are always options to what you can do. If you aren't comfortable going in for whatever reason, get your food to go. they'll be glad to box it up. And look, you got some employees there that are Johnny on the spot with me every time. And I try to order there every day almost. And if we all do that, it will certainly help take the brunt out of it. Now, one of the things that they've been harping on with the CDC and things like that is cleanliness. You're a restaurant. I mean, you've always kind of disinfected, hadn't you, Big Mike?
Always.
Yeah. I mean, these are things. I had a dentist on here, and they shut them down too for a little while. And I was telling him, I mean, you're a freaking dentist. Yeah. And he's like, dude, we were acting like there was COVID before there was COVID.
Right. And that's what people don't understand. I mean, we deal with the health board on a regular basis. So it's not like, just because you have this outbreak of COVID that we're going to do anything different. We've always sanitized. We've always been very thorough with our cleaning and whatnot per the health board, not just CDC. We didn't change anything.
Yeah. I mean,
we really didn't.
Barkeeps probably keep their bar cleaner than anybody else. It's like the old, the old guy wiping down the bar every time someone moves a glass.
And I tell people the same thing. She said, we go through about 2,500 gloves a week. And we did that before coronavirus was even thought of. Our hostesses wipe down our menus. I mean, we have somebody comes in and cleans the bathrooms.
Disinfecting, bleach.
We have bleach on our shelf. It's been there for, we have a spot for bleach. It's been there for 10 years. So it wasn't new to us to try to clean. It's our job. And even not the health department, it's our job as owners to serve the public to do those. And
sure.
We've always, that's one of our biggest bills, to be honest with you, pre-COVID is cleaning, the restaurants and the floors and the cleaning supplies and the gloves and the sanitizer. We've been doing it. So she's right. We really didn't change much.
Yeah.
We had hand sanitizer. One thing we did is we didn't have hand sanitizers for the public.
Right.
And in the back of the house, and by every sink, there was soap, paper towel, and a hand sanitizer dispenser. In our server alley, hand sanitizer. So we never did provide one for the public. So that's really about the only thing we did is add hand sanitizers for the general public. But we've had
all you had to do.
We've had hand sanitizers.
Everything else you were doing.
We've had hand sanitizers in the back of our restaurant, in the back of the house since the day we opened.
Yeah, there you go. So, so it sounds to me like you've taken every step that you. Not only that, you've probably went well above and beyond where you were expected to go. I've noticed that, and I did notice the hand sanitizer stuff. Thought that was cool. But you also have an outlet, and this is my point with everything rolls downhill. So you have a bar there also where you do live music, right? I love live music. I could listen to live bands every weekend. Love it. Now they are really suffering too because they have nowhere to play, and so it stops everything kind of, they go to you to get the outlet to play. You can't allow them in because whoever's stopping you. And so it's really just brought all that to almost a screeching halt, which is a shame. It really is. Because I know some of these guys that have these bands and they're passionate about it. It was their life, and now they're doing something they really don't need to be doing because they have a talent that needs to get out there and be heard, right?
Oh, you're right. And that's you get anywhere from Chris LeBlanc to even Lane Hardy, who just got won American Idol, to friends of ours that what's that? Can't remember what. Their job came to a halt. It wasn't a side job for them. They didn't, deliver mail during the day and play music. They made a living playing music.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forgot that. And then, like you say, it goes downhill. It's a domino effect. We can't have them in. So then they don't have any money to go out. So they can't, in turn, paint their house and buy paint from you or come out to a restaurant from me. Can't, get their Dim Strings news subscription. It's a domino effect. And they're sitting idle for 8 months now, 9 months now?
Well,
they're doing anything.
The scary thing too is when is it going to end?
Exactly.
When can you play again?
You just hit it, because that is the biggest issue, in my opinion, with the whole thing is nobody has an end date. If someone could just tell us all, okay, next week you can open full capacity, that'd be great. I know that, they can't, but it's a lot easier to handle when you can see light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Absolutely.
I don't care what business you are. If you could have the best plan ever, a whole year's worth of expenses in the bank. But if you go a year and a month, you're in a bind. And you prepared the way you were supposed to prepare. And so that's really the issue. No one can tell us when it's going to end.
That's definitely lingered longer than anyone
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. I mean, I thought 2 weeks. I remember when it first started, I'm like, 2 weeks, this will be over well.
By the time the kids start school, everything will be back to normal. And here we are, Christmas, and we're taking a hit again with our Christmas parties as well, Yeah. Not only did most of our group meetings come to a halt because of it.
You had, who else was
like during the lunch meetings.
Kiwanis, Rotary.
But now our Christmas parties are taking a hit where this should be our best month of the year. And
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're probably not going to hit our mark or even be close to it. The problem, we just had a party this morning cancel. They're scared to get in large groups, which I understand. But then you'll have someone that books, and then only, maybe 10 will show up, or then just the cancellations have been crazy.
Yeah, I would imagine. And
I mean, it's nobody's fault either. Like, we're not upset about it, but it is just,
it sucks.
It does.
I mean, it just sucks. And the thing is, and what I want to impress on everybody is, think of some other options. You don't have to meet there. Maybe get it to go, or you do plenty of party trays, man. We did do
a lot of catering this week, so that helped. That was really good.
She does all the catering food, and she has been rocking and rolling. And a lot of your dentist offices and parties and stuff, and they're just coming to get it, taking it to their house. So we're very appreciative of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
very appreciative of that.
Yeah, I know you are, and I'm certainly pushing that to my groups that I meet with, and I say, hey, go buy Big Mike's. I know you're a member of iTrade Exchange, and of course Dane Arnold pushes you everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
He loves you to death.
Great guy,
and he really is, and so I implore people again on that now. One of the things I want to mention is your awesome staff. I love the folks over there. They always make me feel welcome. They make our entire group that goes in there in particular feel welcome. But I want to call out 2 ladies in particular that really stand out to me. One is Dawn Carroll, and I want to mention her on here because Dawn is a machine.
She is.
She's a machine, man. Look, this is a woman that I have literally had 65 people in a BNI group in that meeting room at one time, and she doesn't mess anybody's order up. She is quick. She's like a little buzzing bee. So she's in and out in 2 seconds everywhere. But Dawn is exceptional, and I've told her that before. She does a great job. So if you head to Big Mike's, say hello to Dawn. Tell her I mentioned her. She'll laugh and say, "Oh, is that the guy with the bald head?" But another one I want to mention is Heather Nelson. Heather does a great job for you guys. Known her for many, many years. So I want to shout her out too, because she handles.
When you said you had 2 names and then you said 2 ladies, that's the first 2 that popped to my head.
Yeah,
and we have a great staff.
But, you do. They're all great.
We're very fortunate, and we have we have turnover just like everybody else, but we have some people that have been with us from the beginning.
Heather's one of them.
Yeah, and Dawn came in. I think a few years after we opened. I remember like it was yesterday. Sat in a booth, interviewed her. She had just she had been a lifer.
Probably 8 or 9 years.
Yeah. And I just liked the way she talked. She looked me in the eye. I could tell she was a professional. We get a lot of kids. And Dawn was a professional. And her having BNI and having those parties, that's an award for her. I mean, a reward. I'm sorry. But we put her on those because of the good job that she does. And that's why she's there every Tuesday. And she has the Rotor, she has the Kiwanis. And machine is a very good way to put it. When she gets in there, she is on top of it. She's something Jocelyn and I talk about. We have employees that we don't have to worry about. We don't have to go behind them and check. We don't have to, are they cutting corners? No, Dawn's the one that's going to pick the straw up off the floor. Heather's going to be the one that's going to scrub the side of the sink. They know what they're doing, and they're lifers.
Yeah, they're lifers.
And those lifers take a ownership into the business.
Yeah.
And, you know, the kid that's working their way through college, I might sweep under that chair. I might move the table, but those two wouldn't want to lose either one of them.
Yeah,
sure.
They take pride in their jobs for sure.
You know, and that's, you just said a key word, and that was she takes ownership into the business. And that's really what you want those employees to do.
Absolutely.
Because they are kind of the glue for any business. And, you know, Big Mike, the best leaders that I've talked to in any industry, all of them will say our employees are the key. They're the key. You agree?
100%. I tell people all the time, and I look at not just our restaurant, but I look at the world today. If Jocelyn and I decide not to go back to the restaurant today, we're still going to operate business as usual and make money. Why? Because of our staff.
Yeah.
If we take off next week, and I mean, that's anywhere. Who owns, you know, you ever met the guy who owns McDonald's? No. But you know the staff. And I tell everybody, if in the entire United States, if all the bosses took off tomorrow, you wouldn't even know it.
Yeah.
And I said, but if the next day only the bosses showed up to work and all of the staff took off, it'd be mass chaos. And that's how important the working people are. And I mean, there's no doubt, and it took me a long time to realize that. I had employees, and now we have almost 40, but I believe that. I tell that to people all the time, is that that working class is who we have to take care of. Because, you know, where she goes, you go to Rouse's, you go to Dale Champ, Sears, I mean, I don't care what business, you don't know the owner.
Yeah.
But you know the working people, that's who you deal with when you call a business, you know, so I believe in that strongly.
Yeah.
And they got to be more appreciated.
I agree 100%, and they will make you or break you.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. You know, a wise man in the business world once told me, you either work in your business or on your business. And if you have good people, you can actually work on your business and not in your business, because that's where the business owner benefits the most. And you've done a great job picking them. You know, and that's the thing with employees, you know how it is. You got to try them out, and some work out, some you think will be great, and whoa, they were different than I thought. But you've got some good ones there, man. So I did definitely want to shout those ladies out in particular. Now, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about you giving back. You do. You give back in a lot of ways. You definitely take more than you, or give more than you take. You support tons of local events. I see Big Mikes everywhere I look, regardless of the situation, and that speaks to who you are. Now, you're an active member of the Chamber of Commerce as well, and I feel I'm an ambassador for the Chamber, so I want you to know the Chamber's behind you too. And we're getting behind. April does a good job of shouting you out at different things, and really making sure that not only your restaurant, but all the local restaurant owners get the attention they deserve. They do have a menu that you're a part of at the Chamber that you can pick up. That's just a restaurant guide for Livingston Parish, and it lists all our lovely restaurants here. Big Mike's featured front and center, so you need to check that out. Listeners, let me ask you this: what's the most popular menu item you have?
What do you think, Beck?
The club sandwich.
I love it. That's the one I get. I love the club sandwich. That is a good one. I like the grilled chicken, Big Mike's chicken sandwich, rather. Also, love that one. The pizza's good. You know, it's hard to pick just one, but I do get the club a lot. What do you get, Casey? I know you're back there. I heard you just say something.
I posted that too. The Big Mike's barbecue burger. I love
that's
it.
a good
I
one.
get a side of mayo, and I dip everything in. Fantastic.
What's your most popular bar drink? Fireball?
Funny you say that. Yes.
Yeah, you know, that's the crazy thing about Fireball. Where did that come from? That's
I don't know.
It was on the market before, which people didn't realize. It's not like it just came out when it got popular. It had been on the market, if my research was correct, 2-3 years, maybe even longer than that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took off, just kind of like with the Jägermeister and Red Bull and all that. But yes, we have a Fireball machine in each one of the bars because it's so popular. We we get a discount. You buy 5-6 cases at a time. I mean,
yeah.
So it really is. Beer, of course. This is Livingston Parish.
Oh, it
good old
is.
boys like their good old beer.
Absolutely. And the good old girls. Lori Johnson loves beer.
Hey, Lori, and Angela, I can name a few of them. Yes, you're right. They'll drink beer for beer right along with the guys.
Absolutely.
And, so we have a wide variety. We sell we don't really sell a lot of margaritas and martinis and things like that. So, it's a typical Livingston Parish bar. It's beer and whiskey.
Serve
and
everything
a lot of
you need.
two-pour whiskey drinks. And,
Yeah.
we did come up with some, John Taffer came up with some good drinks, and those still sell pretty good.
Yeah.
But Fireball, I think, is definitely the leader if you go per case every week, how much we go through.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's one. Look, it will sneak up on you. You hear me?
There's a devil on the bottle for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to drink it anymore, Jim. As a matter of fact, my wife cut me off. No more Fireball. About 6 months now, and I thank her for it every time I drink. Thank you for cutting me off.
It will. It'll sneak up on you. You have that first couple shots, and it's like, it's almost like candy. Yeah. Then you have that third one, and then it is all at one time.
Sneaky.
Yeah, but I enjoy a little Fireball every now and then. We had
Hot Dam. You had the Red Hot Snaps back years ago when I first opened Hot Dam.
Yeah.
So there's always been a cinnamon.
Yeah, Hot Dam was.
There's always been we used to sell Hot Dam shots, like crazy in my first bar.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how just the name and the gimmick and the label and just everything. And it's here to stay. It's crazy the people that do. We have people that just do that, drink water and just shoot Fireball.
Yeah.
No beer, no anything. That's what they do.
That's it.
So.
Now, let me ask you, do you have people that will come to your bar specifically because they saw you on Bar Rescue? They'll just walk in and say, hey, man, we came by because we're Bar Rescue fans. We're just passing through Denham Springs or whatever.
Quite often.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. I remember we had a truck driver who his wife made the trip with him. They lived in North Carolina because he was doing a Texas run, and they were specific. She got in the truck with him and did the run with him so they could come and meet us. Remember, we went in the bar, took pictures with him. They bought T-shirts, hats, everything. And then I've had people from New York, Boston, you name it, people that have come in, just a couple from Florida. And it's crazy. When you sit in your living room in Denham Springs and watch Bar Rescue, you don't think there's 6 million people watching it.
Yeah.
And every time it airs, my daughter, who handles a lot of our Facebook stuff, and she said, our episode must have aired again. We're getting emails.
Come on.
And we've gotten emails, handwritten letters from Canada.
Worldwide, baby. You're worldwide.
We've had phone calls. And then the funny thing, the emails, my name's Big Mike too. Can you send us shirts? We've actually, packaged, taken people's credit cards, number, packaged some stuff and sent them shirts. And
That's pretty awesome.
I had a couple from Boston who came in a day early to a convention just so they could come up and eat. I had a girl on the patio the other day, lives on the other side of Jackson. So you're probably talking about 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
She said, my husband asked me what I want to do for my birthday. I said, I want to go to Big Mike's. They got up Saturday morning, drove all the way down here, ate, sat on the patio for a couple hours and drove back.
Come on.
So, yeah.
That's going to make you feel good.
We still get stuff like that. So, yeah, it's neat. It's good to hear the people's stories. They come back. And then it's really neat to get the emails and the letters and stuff like that, So
Indeed. No doubt about it.
It's kind of stuck with us now. I can't go anywhere. I was talking to somebody about this just the other day, but we went on a cruise shortly after, and I was recognized, of course. I stand out, I guess, because I'm big and bald and ugly. But on a cruise, I was in a baseball game in Baltimore, Maryland, with a friend. Somebody approached me in the beer line, asked me if I was Big Mike from Bar Rescue.
How about that?
So it's really neat to be associated with that.
Yeah.
And still get that all the time.
Well, that's great. It brings people to the community.
Absolutely.
That's always a good thing for all of us. Now, you have a little honey Dijon dressing there that you jar up.
It makes
Tell me about that.
It's just an old recipe.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah.
So the whole process started when everybody came to me and said, hey, you need to bottle your honeybee. You need to bottle it. So I started doing some research, and at LSU, they actually have this thing called a food incubator, which you go through all the paperwork and, get licensed and everything. And so you can go into their facility and you can create like mass, do a mass production of your product and then sell it, take it back and sell it. You can go to, right before the flood, I was going to go to Mayor Landry's grocery store. I was going to Southside Produce, contacted some people from Sam's, Rouse's, Walmart. And then the flood hit. I just produced, I made over like 200 and something bottles, lost all of that in the flood. But anyway, I was a tenant at the food incubator, which, kind of takes some legwork to get into, which really, it was a neat process. So I started bottling it there and still do it, sell it just at the restaurant right now.
And that's interesting. You mentioned Mayor Landry's. So that was my wife's dad sold it to Mayor Landry. That was Rod's.
Oh, okay.
And my wife's dad was Rod Olivier. So interesting how that's a neat little thing there. But great little grocery store. I don't know what it is now. I think they turned it into a gas station or something.
I'm not sure.
One point. He sold it to somebody.
But that was right before the flood. And then, of course, the flood happened. So it knocked the wind out of everybody, and that obviously went to the way back burner. So it's kind of where it sat for a while.
Well, we're going to bring it to the front burner. Yeah. What we're going to do is at this show.
It's a great stocking stuffer.
Absolutely is. And I'll tell you what I'm going to use it for is I'm going to give you this in a little while, but this is a swag gift that I give. It's a box chock full of all kinds of goodies for y'all. From my sponsors, we put all kinds of stuff in there from them and from me, and I am going to buy a couple of cases of that at a time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one in each swag box. And because if anything is Denham Springs, it's you folks in Livingston Parish. And so I want to make sure people have some Big Mike's honey Dijon dressing for anything. You can put it on anything.
Yeah, you can.
Yes, you
dip
can.
it in fries is good too. I've done that before.
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah, well, anything we can do to help, I want all the listeners to do, and we'll all get through this is the bottom line. Now, one thing that I do on each show is I like to do fun facts at the end, and just I tried to think of some really neat fun facts y'all to have some fun with, especially you. And I said I need to do some on beer. So I came up with a few little fun facts that this is McHugh's favorite part of the show. He loves fun facts. So the first one, and I found these interesting. I learned a lot from them. So beer is the most consumed alcoholic beverage. We talked about you sell a lot of beer. Third overall, only to water, which is number one, and two, which is tea. Those are the two most consumed beverages. Beer would be the third and the number one alcoholic beverage. So, and that doesn't surprise me. Lagers, but my wife's not a big beer drinker. She likes wine. But so she asked me one time, what lagers are, and I figured that'd be a good thing to ask Big Mike. So, Big Mike, explain to our listeners what a lager is.
Well, I've read different things about this. Some people actually tell me that a Budweiser and a Bud Light is a lager, but mostly it's associated with a darker beer.
Yeah.
And I think it really started overseas, if I'm not mistaken, because they did a lot of your darker beers. Your I don't want to miss any, but Heineken's. Your I'm not real. I can't remember, but
Heineken's a good example.
Yeah, and that's where it came. Just a darker. We always associate it with a darker, thicker beer, and a lot of people, call for lagers. We don't have a tremendous amount of them, but from what I understand, I might be wrong, but that's my interpretation of a lager beer.
Yeah, you're actually correct. You hit that right on the money, and so I would encourage everybody to drink beer of some sort, because people don't realize this, but if you have kidney stone problems, beer helps with kidney stones. So so anytime if your wife yells at you for drinking too many beers, tell her I'm taking care of my kidney stones.
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm trying to save us some money.
That's it. So did not know that. Now, Japanese sake. I don't know if you ever had sake, But believe it or not, that's a type of beer. I did not realize that. I thought it was a type of wine, but that's actually a type of beer. I thought that was interesting. The oldest running brewery in the world is located in Germany. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Not at all.
Yeah. You remember the German Steins are really cool. I used
They
to collect
drink it
those.
hot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they like to drink. Them Germans like to drink. Now, the world's strongest beer is a Brewmeister snake venom. Never heard of that.
Me neither.
But and I probably need to stay away from it. But that is the world's strongest beer. There's no doubt about it. Dane Arnold with iTrade Exchange has been enabling small business in the Livingston Parish area to save cash through his network of over 300 participating Livingston Parish businesses. Saving cash by trading services with other exchange members is what iTrade Exchange is all about. For more information, contact Dane Arnold at 225-205-3640 or visit iTradeExchange.biz. So, Big Mike, what I want you to do, first I want to thank you for being here today. It's been awesome.
My pleasure.
This is probably my favorite episode, and I know y'all think I tell everybody, and I probably do tell everybody, but it really, what I like about this is I did this because I want to make sure that people not only know about Big Mike's, but know about Big Mike and Jocelyn, and make sure that they know how much not only you do for the community, but how, what you do in your food business, your bar business, and how people can help, basically like they've been doing and going out there and get it to go. You mentioned earlier that you do trays.
Oh, absolutely.
So they want some boudin balls.
We can do it.
Give you a call, and you can get those Christmas parties. I know there's still a few coming up. Give them a call at Big Mike's. Now, how would they go about checking you out online? You have a website?
We do. It's Big Mike Sports Bar and Grill.com.
Okay, awesome. And you have a Facebook. I know that I see every now and then.
We do. And also our catering menu is listed on there as well. So
perfect. So if you're looking to get some catering done, the menu is posted online. Check that out. I'm going to give you this box after we get off air, but that's got a lot of little goodies in there for you, and I will contact you to get some cases of that dressing over there.
Sounds
We're going to pop
good.
those in there. I do want to thank McHugh David for his engineering of this podcast. I really want to thank Casey McMurray back there for producing the podcast. She loves it when I do that.
She has worked her butt off.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Oh, Casey. My guests for today, Big Mike and Jocelyn O'Neill from Big Mike's Bar and Grill, the Livingston Parish News for the Space, and all you viewers and listeners for your support. Follow me on all my social media. Spread the word. Thank you to my sponsors. I could not do any of this without all of you. And if you're interested in sponsoring Local Leaders of Podcast or appearing on the show, please reach out by emailing Casey, CASIE, at localleadersthepodcast.com. Until next time, I am Jim Chapman, reminding you to love your community, support local business, and keep leading. BlakSheep Creative understands the importance of digital marketing and your return on your investment. It's their aim to provide professional web and graphic design services at a price point that smaller businesses and startups can afford. Get in touch with them on the web at BlakSheepCreative.com.